skill alone is not enough. Desire plus skill plus I have to bring in the right attitude. Now, so at the manifest level, thought and desire is inclusive of this, which is not explicitly said. You have to deduct and you have to understand that these things are implied in it. What is implied in it? The skill and the skill, the attitude. For you will start acquiring the skill of painting only when you have the desire for painting. If the desire for painting is not there, why will you even acquire the skill? Therefore, whenever we talk about desire, thought and desire, these two is implied. Now, at the manifested level of action, when you have to do something about an action, he says, you attend to what you have to attend to? You have to attend to all the three. You can't leave one for the other. You have to attend to the skill, you have to attend to the attitude. The way in which you develop the skill and attitude should not increase the desire, should decrease the desire, eliminate the desire. There you have learned Karma Yoga. Otherwise, you go on acting, the very action itself increases the desires. Here is a technique by which you do an action and that action itself should reduce. You do an action so skillfully, you bring in the right attitude into the action. As a result of all this, what happens? The desires doesn't increase. Oppositely, alternatively, it goes on decreasing. Ultimately, elimination also. We have to patiently listen to what he is going to say. He is going to talk about action for the next 100 verses. And every verse will give you one dimension into an action. You follow? Last week I said, what did I say last week? The doer. Who's the doer? When we say vasana, thought, desire and action, we tend to understand as though it is some machine doing something and you have no connection with it. You are the vasana, you are the desire, you are the thought and you are the you means the doer, the individual who is doing this action. The individual who is doing this action has a choice. What is the choice? The choice of increasing the desires or eliminating the desires. If you are not eliminating the desires, if you are not decreasing it, you are only increasing it. You may not see it, you may not understand it, you may not know it. But nevertheless, desires is either increasing or decreasing. If you have to decrease the desires, you need to know the technique of action. Why do you have to know the technique of action? Because you belong to the active type. You don't belong to the contemplative type. Since you belong to the active type, work through action. First thing he said, verse number 4 is, perfection is not attained by abstaining from What is perfection? The state of self-realization is not attained by abstaining from action. By moving away from actions, by stopping all actions, you don't attain perfection. For Arjuna's thinking, the most have misunderstood. Perfection is a state of no action. How they came to this conclusion, how they arrived at this conclusion, you talk to an enlightened man, he says, I am not doing anything. I don't do anything. I am not doing anything. Which you go back thinking, okay, perfection means don't do anything. Summa Shivanen, sit like Lord Shiva. You don't have to do anything at all. What he says is that is not perfection. For perfection is attained not by abstaining from action. Do not forget the background. All the talk is to, don't forget the back. If you forget the background and start thinking like a contemplative person, Karma Yoga, you will not understand. Try to restrict your thinking to, is talking to a person who is, we don't have to keep repeating it. You always have to keep this at the background. What? He's talking to a man who is active, not a contemplative person. The difficulty is, in a classroom like this, we tend to artificially think like a contemplative person. For we pitch up through intelligence a state of contemplation, though we don't fit into the category of contemplative type. That's where this confusion is. It will not. It's not that you are not understanding. You are mixing up the context. What is the context? Understand that it is talking to a man of action. That's why I spent 2 classes explaining the difference between who's an contemplative and who's an active. Who's an active person? Arjuna is a man of action. Who's a man of action? A restless man. A restless person has to do action. Physically restless, mentally restless. A restless person has to do action. While the pressure of the vasanas is driving him into action, and he is artificially, forcefully abstaining himself from action. He is forcefully abstaining himself from action. That forceful abstinence from action will not lead to perfection. What it will lead to, verse number 5, 6 and 7 is going to talk about it. If you forcefully abstain from action, even though you are an active person, what will happen to you? What will be the nature of that person? Beautiful explanation is going to give in verses 5, 6 and 7. Before that, he is only setting the ground. What? Arjuna, perfection is not an inactive state in the way that you understand. Perfection is a dynamic state of action where the doership is not there. How to get there? He is going to give the age-old technique, the most ancient technique known to human being, the fire worship, the yajna karma. All that is going to come later. First, remove the misunderstanding. What perfection means? The way to perfection is through constant action. At any point of time you want to stop your action, what are you moving away from? From the perfection itself. You want to move away from the perfection itself. Not only you are moving away from your perfection, you are creating a more disturbance to you. Why? Pressure of the desires is wanting you to act. On the other side, you are forcefully curtailing your action. You got it? So, first thing he says is, active type has to get into action. The problem today, see, if he is talking about the importance of action to a Kshatriya, to a man of action, if Krishna were to be alive today, he will not bother to talk this at all. For today, we are a society where we have a contempt for action. We feel action is inferior by nature, and machines have to do action. What should we do? This tool, I was thinking about you only. I wanted to ask you. Everywhere, AI, artificial intelligence, AI. What is AI? What do you think about AI? I say, see, what you are asking is for an intelligent machine minus the mind. What are you asking for? A machine that has intelligence but not mind. Because the moment mind comes in, who enters? A human being enters. And you will not know what to do with the human being. Not only you do not know what to do with the human being, actions are seen that which has to be done by. Action has to be done by whom? Washing has to be done by washing machine. Cooking has to be done by cooking machine. I don't know if at all there is a machine called cooking machine. And that also why cook morning, noon and night. Cook once and put it so you can have for the next few days. More and more and more a contempt for action. A contempt for action. Because actions by nature is routine. Actions by nature will be the same thing. You can't do. I am studying engineering. Just for a variety, I am studying medicine also. I am studying law. Just for variety, I am studying chartered accountancy also. It doesn't work that way. For action means there will be a action always has a routine, a pattern. Mind doesn't like that routine. It always wants variety. It always says, I want a change. It doesn't want a change. Change means what it wants? A variety. If you want to do variety, means what are you actually asking for? Whenever you ask for variety, what are you asking for? Move from the present action. Move from the present action means create more vasana, create more desire. For if you have to move into the variety, you need to you have to create a vasana for that. You have to develop a skill for that. You have to develop all the samsara follows. And everyone asking for variety means asking for more and more vasanas. On the one hand they ask for vasanas, on the other hand they come and ask? Huh? Why am I not peaceful? How to attain? How to attain peace? How to be happy? You can't be happy. So first thing he says, understand the nature of action. What is the nature of action? It will be routine, mechanical. Please understand, the routine and mechanical is because of the wrong understanding that goes into the action. Actions are not mechanical. Actions are not mechanical. The doer has done mechanical. So the problem is not with the action. The problem is with the doer. Krishna is shifting the attention from the actions to the doer. He is saying, Arjuna, the problem is with the doer. And how to overcome that? Do yajna karma. Do the same action with the attitude of yajna karma. Therefore, first thing, Naishkarmyam Purushosnute. Actionless is not attained through abstaining from action, nor by mere renunciation does he attain perfection. Mere renunciation. See, throughout the chapter 2 he was glorifying renunciation, and now he is saying, nor by mere renunciation he attains perfection. For Arjuna didn't understand what renunciation is. If Arjuna has understood what renunciation is, this question itself would not have come. The very fact that he is asking this question, what is the question? Tell me. Tell me clearly. Krishna, first you get your clarity and then come back and tell me clearly what I should do. You would not have asked this question. The very fact that he is asking this question is an implication that he wants to forcefully fit himself into the contemplative type. Why he wants to artificially fit himself into the contemplative type? For the action in front, the action that he ought to do now, he is not. The action in front of him, the action that he ought to do now, is not. He has the skill behind it. It's not that he is not skillful in that. He is a master class in that. For no one can attain the perfection in the warfare like Arjuna has. And yet, what he is doing, he wants to forcefully move away from the action. He wants to forcefully withdraw himself from the action. Because of what? Not that the desire has gone. Not that the desire for fighting has left him. Why he wants to move away? He wants to move away because the doing is painful. In spite of the skill, in spite of the expertise, in spite of the practice of all that he has been having, the doing today has become painful. Why the doing has become painful? For he has quickly personalized it. He has quickly taken a personal stance. What is a personal stance? He started seeing, you should read the chapter 1, go back and read the chapter 1, you will understand. With full of clarity he comes into the battlefield telling Krishna, he tells Krishna, place the chariot in between the two armies so that I can see both clearly. I can plan how to go about, how to start slaughtering. I wanted to. That's what he's saying. Place the chariot in between the two armies so that I can see the enemies clearly. Up to this point Arjuna was very clear. Krishna said, where are the enemies? See the Kurus assembled here, he said. Kurus means the family. Saying, Arjuna, you are saying enemies. I am looking around. I am not able to see any enemy. I am only seeing the Kurus means your own people. For the dividing line is not clear there. Look at the Kurus assembled here and then read the next few verses. The moment Krishna says, look at the Kurus assembled here, Arjuna starts seeing father-in-laws, brother-in-laws. He starts seeing all that. The moment he starts seeing all that, he drops and says, I can't fight. Moving away from the obligatory action is because of personalizing. Move away from that which you ought to do because of personalizing. And don't worry, you have to personalize because the ego is so strong. The kartrutva is so strong. How can you avoid that? Instead of saying, I have developed kartrutva, he says, let us forgive them and walk away. Let us forgive them and walk away. If Arjuna has actually risen to that state where he can forgive, Krishna would have said, come Arjuna, one wise man in this entire Akshavan is one wise man has come. Come, let us walk out. You have completely walked for. It's not, the massacre is not worth it. Slaughtering is not worth it. And yet, he has to be a participant in the slaughtering because 3 weeks later he will start. He will go back and 3 weeks later he will make another plan for war. He will create another situation where what will happen? Why? Vasanas are there. Vasanas are there. Desires are there. It will helplessly manifest into action. Therefore, first thing, by forcefully abstaining from action or by merely restraining from action, you don't attain perfection. You cannot achieve that state of actionlessness by abandoning the present action or by avoiding future actions. Sannyas is a state where you don't generate any future actions. That's sannyas. He's saying you can't attain to the state of perfection by merely abandoning your present actions. If you are abandoning your present actions, what are you creating? Frustration in relation to this. Frustration in relation to this action. Vasanas for future action, new action. Variety means vasana for. A seeker is one who is wanting to get rid of the existing vasanas. If If you want to get rid of your existing vasanas, where you have to act? In the existing field of activity. You can't change the field of activity. For if you have to change into a new field of activity, you need to create that. You have to create that vasana. By creating new vasanas, you are not going to attain perfection. Therefore, stick to your field of action. Why do you have to stick to your field of action? It's because your liberation lies in that only. Since your liberation is lying in that field, you have to stick to your field of activity. And what is the state of perfection? Perfection is not an actionless state. Perfection is a vasanalessness. Perfection is not actionlessness. Perfection is vasanalessness. Vasanalessness means thoughtlessness. Thoughtlessness means desirelessness. Desirelessness means actionlessness. All along, this is what I am also saying. Let us abstain from action. He is saying abstain through this action, plow through the action and eliminate the desire. Arjuna is saying abstain from action. You can't abstain from action. Why you can't abstain from action? Your desires drives you into action. Your desires drives you into action. One thing is possible in a human being. He can put up an act of, he can forcefully abstain. When he is forcefully abstaining, what happens to him? He starts that. You want to forcefully abstain from action, Arjuna. What will happen to you if you forcefully abstain from action? What will happen to you? Verse number 5 and 6 is going to talk about it. First we will see verse number 5. I didn't say doership drives the vasanas. Vasanas manifest as, I said it even today. Vasanas, when it starts manifesting, it manifests as thought, desire and action. One aspect of thought is doership. It's not doership that drives the vasana. Vasana is the unmanifested part. When it starts manifesting, when it gets into manifestation, it has various expressions. What are the various expressions? Technical explanation is thought, desire and action. But this thought, desire and action is not helping you to overcome vasanas. So, approach the same thing from a different angle. What is, an action is a combination of? An action is a manifestation of desire, skill, attitude. Doership belongs to what? Doership or the non-doership belongs to the attitude part. Skill belongs to the training, repetition. You do something repeatedly again and again and again, you develop a skill. And both are driven by what? Both are driven by desire, vasana. So, vasana, when you try to understand it at the unmanifest level, it is confusing. I said it already. When it manifests as desire, thought, desire, action. And the thought can be of the three types. The thought is of three types. What are the three types? Skill, plus attitude plus the very desire itself, vasana. I said it already. Vasana is the root. Nothing can create vasana. If something can create vasana, then that becomes subtler. How can anything create vasana? Vasana creates all this. When you say vasana create all this, you cannot understand because you do not know how to connect the unmanifest and the manifest. We have not used to that understanding of life as manifest and unmanifest. So we have to explain at such a elementary level of what manifestation is. And what is the manifestation part of an action? Skill, attitude and desire itself. You have a desire, then only you will learn, then only you will acquire a skill. Can action be done just by skill? Is any action possible just by skill? Machine can do that. That's why we are comfortable with machines. Artificial intelligence. We are so comfortable with machines because machine itself can do that. Is skill alone enough? Okay, desire is there. Does that desire by itself start acting? You need to know. You need to know how to act. That's the skill part. Now, is desire and skill alone enough into action? What is the third component that is interesting? Skillfully, you cook and throw the plate in front of the guest. You have a desire to feed that man, and you have cooked skillfully also and throw the plate in front of the guest and say, eat. Does it happen? So what is the third component now? Attitude. You got it? So you need, at the manifest level, you have to understand this. But actually what is it in terms of the skill, the attitude, the desire? These are all implied in the word thought. When he says vasanas manifest as thought, all these are implied in that. Our penetration level is so poor that all this has to be taken up separately and explained. You follow? When they say vasana manifest as thought, all these three are implied there. But how do you say all these three are implied? Ya pashyati, ta pashyati. Whoever sees it, you can't explain. You got what I am saying? It's already explained. What is explanation? Skill, the desire, the attitude. Ingredients are not there, so it's not a good food, but still you give it the right attitude. It changes what? It is the attitude part that Arjuna is having a problem. Arjuna is not having a problem with skill. That's why I have been saying from the beginning, from the day one when we entered Karma Yoga, I am saying you should understand that he is talking to a man of He is talking to a man who is skilled in that action. To a person who is skillful, to go and tell him, act, he will turn back and say, what are you talking? For I am already so skillful in that, I am already acting. Are you able to understand the difference at least? He is not talking to a lazy man to talk about action to whom? Ideally you should talk about action to whom? To a lazy guy, no, to a lazy person. By no means Arjuna is not a Lazy man. If he is a lazy man, he would not have reached that. So, he is not lazy. You can't tell him acquire a skill because he has the skill already. And yet, this is the case of every human being. They have a desire, they have the skill, they have the experience, they have the expertise. In spite of all this, when he has to start acting, is there any joy in that action? Is there anything positive that comes out of the human being to do that action? What comes out of that human being? Huh? What comes out of the human being? Irritation, frustration, wanting to stab the other to death. To that man, when he says, Arjuna, act, what is he talking about? He's talking about attitude. He's not talking about skill. He's not talking about anything. He's talking about bringing the right attitude. At this point, we all will turn back and look at Krishna and say, we have come to hear skill Krishna, not about attitude. Why? My attitude is already correct. Maybe your attitude is not right. My attitude is already correct. So you don't give me a lecture about attitude. Give me a lecture about skill. For I have come to hear about skill, not to hear about. That's why after a few weeks, people drop out. They can't continue. Why? They thought they are going to acquire a new skill. When philosophy turns back and says it has got nothing to do with skill, it has got everything to do with attitude. I'm correct, but not for me. Why? I already have. In the mother is sincere person. You are lucky, sir, if you can find a sincere person like me. You are lucky, sir, if you can find a dedicated person like me. Even you are not so dedicated. We don't do that also. What a dedicated, sincere person I am. It doesn't work. Why? The agitations are still continuing, the frustrations are still continuing. Instead of decreasing the desires, he is going on increasing the desires. That's why you find anyone doing an action, you don't see joy at all, an irritation, a frustration, an urgency to finish it and what can you talk? Able to follow the difficulty that Krishna is facing. I don't face a difficulty. And I also belong to Arjuna category. Krishna, poor man, he should have been really irritated. Have you seen anyone doing action with joy? No one. The starting point of it is, the thought of doing itself is the thought of doing. That's why we are so caught up in acquiring a skill. You know why? More skillful means you can quickly finish. More skillful means you can quickly finish the action and do what? Sit depressed, commit suicide. Sit depressed. Or if action is not happening, depression starts. You avoid action, you are asking for suicide. You are asking for it. And yet the whole world is asking for that only. What is it? How to quickly avoid action. They don't say how to avoid action. They use jargons. They use big. No, sir, these are all mechanical actions machine can do. We have to do something more productive. Our time has to be spent on something more useful. Big words people use. In and through all this, what does it mean? Avoid action. Why avoid action? Doing has become painful. To whom? To a skillful person, doing has become painful. By acquiring more skill, is it going to change? Therefore, he takes a different approach and says, don't worry about the skill, Arjuna. I am going to talk about something different. The most important component of action that I am going to talk to you about. Carefully follow. Okay? Verse number 5.
Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishthatya karmakrit karyate vyavashat karma sarva prakriti jay gunaihi nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishthatya karmakrit karyate vyavashat karma sarva prakriti jay gunaihi.
None can ever remain inactive even for a moment. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi. You can't remain inactive even for a split second. If you remain inactive, it's dead. All are made to act helplessly indeed by the qualities born of Prakriti, nature. First he says, vasanas drive the action. First he said, it's vasanas that drives the action. Now he says, all are made to act helplessly by the gunas. He just introduces the word gunas. All are made to act helplessly by the qualities born of Prakriti. Gunas. The first statement is very clear. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi. You can't remain inactive for a split second. Remember the example that he always gives. Inactive. The yoga posture, in the yogasanas, there is a posture called Shavasana. Shavasana means die like a, not die, lie like a shava, corpse. You lie, on this floor you lie. Don't lie now. You lie. At the third minute, one ant will come. At the third minute, one ant will come to very affectionately to kiss you. It's checking whether you are. It's checking you are alive or not. It's checking. At least that much you understand. No, it's checking. You stay still. Don't do any action. Fifth minute, 6 more ants will come. Even then, don't do any action. Stay still. In a matter of 45 minutes, a colony of ants will descend on you and you will be eaten up. Correct? So when the ant comes, action has to be done. What is the action? What is the action? Correct. That's crush panna. Even just Funale it will go. You don't have to do anything. So that aspect of it is very clear. What? None can remain inactive even for a split second. You can't remain inactive. Why you can't remain inactive even for a split second? For as long as there are vasanas within, they drive an individual to action. There is no complication. He brought in he just added one more thing. What? The types of activity will depend upon the qualities of the vasanas promoting them. Again I repeat. The type of activities depends upon will depend upon the gunas that are promoting them. What are the gunas? That we know already. What are the gunas? Tattva, Rajas, Tamas. What is Tamas? Tamas is a state of inaction. Tamas is a tendency to avoid action is tamas. An attitude to avoid action. A tendency, the attitude to avoid action is either an intellectual conviction can drive you to action, or an emotional impulse can drive you to do something. In the case of a tamasic person, he neither has an intellectual conviction nor an emotion to manifest, to drive his action. That person is called a tamasic person. That is the guna, this is the tamasic guna. What is rajas? Tamas is the state of, whenever you use the word inaction, within yourself you should understand. Tamas is the state of inertia. Inertia you understand, no? Tamas is the state of ignorance. Ignorance and inertia combined is tamas. What is rajas? Desire and agitation. Desire and agitation is the state of rajas. What is sattva? What is sattva guna? Sattva guna is the equanimous state, the equanimity that a human being has. That's the state of sattva. So the three gunas all are made to act helplessly by the vasanas, which carries the texture of the three gunas. Different vasanas propel different people to different fields of activity. Different vasanas propel different people to different fields of activity. Like, supposing if I were to ask, will Argentina come to last 16? You turn back Abdinna? You don't have asana for football. Oh, there is a World Cup of football happening. It doesn't mean anything. Supposing if a person who has a vasana for football, if I say, will Argentina come now, you are able to connect. You are able to connect immediately. Another person is not able to connect. Why? one person has a vasana, another person doesn't have a vasana. Are you able to understand that? Vasana. And these vasanas manifest as three distinct thought textures. These vasanas expresses itself as three distinct different thought textures. What are the distinct different thought textures? The three gunas: sattva, rajas and tamas. Okay? Every human being has all the three combined. Only tamas are there is no problem. Only rajas are there is no problem. Every human being is a combination of all the three. They mix together and manifest as, and it will manifest at different parts of the day. And manifest at different parts of the day. That's where he says sattvic time. Early hours of the morning is the sattvic time. Rajasic time is during the day. When you see the sun, you get into action. See, there are some places where sun doesn't set at all. How much ever, it's so difficult, by the time, this part of the time you travel to Europe, so funny, so difficult, with lot of difficulty, 11:30 to put all the things and you go to sleep at 3:30, like this it is. How can you? So bright. There are some places where it doesn't set at all. Now, what is the sattvic time, rajasic time and tamasic time? The early hours of the morning is always known as the sattvic time. Rajas is equated to Rajas starts as soon as the sun rises. It's natural. As soon as the sun sets, it's got nothing to do with the sun. It is to do with one's own guna. Tamas during the evening and the night. Tragically, all spiritual activities happen only in the tamasic time. 7 o'clock in the evening, 7 o'clock in the evening you have been in your house, locked the doors, preparing to sleep. Tamasic time is where all activities are tragedies. A human being is a combination of these three gunas, and these three gunas varies in proportion. That accounts for the variety of human beings, and even in a human being it manifests at different parts of the day. It manifests. To promote sattva and grow in life, you need to create your life cycle in line with this pattern. That's what he's trying to say. You have to promote sattva. You can't promote sattva when your tamoguna is when your tamoguna is predominant. At that point of time, you can't try to promote your sattva guna. When it has to be promoted, whatever the daily cycle is. First he is saying, carefully follow the sequence of action. First he said, vasanas is the prime mover behind action. Vada. You don't have to do anything. Just vasana. Eliminate the vasanas. It looked very, very easy, very simple, very straightforward. Then unnecessarily attitude or confusion. Then another confusion now. What is another confusion? Tattva, rajas and tamas. These are all distinct thought textures. A mental temperament, when it starts, when vasana starts manifesting, it has all this as part of it. When all this goes into unmanifest form, it's called as vasana. When it starts manifesting, it has various expressions. It just doesn't express as just a thought, just a desire, just an. If it works like that, where is the complication? But it doesn't work like that. There are a few things. What are the few things? First is the vasana. Second is the three gunas. What are the three gunas? Sattva, rajas and like same example. Vasana, desire, act, desire to cook, to talk, to teach, any field of activity you take. You can do that action with indifference, listlessly, as though. That's why that's why we say, சும்மா கடனே பண்ணக்கூடாது. Do it. Don't do it like that. What is that? What is that called? That's a tamasic, indifferent temperament. Another way is the doing itself is so. The doer is so agitated. Okay. Agitation to an extent where I remember my grandmother's statement. That is the state of rajas. You are in that state of. You understand anda, no? 10 human beings can go inside that. That's that. One hand, how it will not go. But then that's the state of rajas. That agitated, passionate, passion, not that passion for doing a lot. That disturbed state where you feel like telling that person, okay, simply calm down. For agitation is, that's the state of rajas. And then there is a third type of doing, where you see that man doing, you are so inspired, you are so impressed, you want to do action in the way that he is doing. Effortlessness. Effortlessness with which action is done. One stage is action itself is not done. That's tamas. The second stage is action is done with much effort. The third state is effortless action. What is sattva guna? Sattva is a state of effortless action. State of effortless action. Don't worry. Effortlessness comes with much effort. Straight away you can't become effortless. Effortlessness comes with much effort. So much of effort has gone into it that it has become effortless. A very few can make football attractive. No, football itself is a very, it's not a nasty game, hitting each other, breaking the bones, some can make that sport look effortless. You see a man playing tennis. Tennis looks so easy. All that you have to do is what? Go into the court, toss the ball and start serving. It will go at 150 miles, 160 miles an hour. That's the speed. And if you go and see and stand in the tennis court will appear like a football field. It will appear like a football field. You serve, dum, 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 it will hit the net. It will not even cross the net. So difficult is to just put the ball across the net. Forget about effortlessness and all. What is Sattva Guna? Effortless action. Tamas is the state of no action. First he dismisses the no action state as useless. He uses very harsh words to describe that. Then he comes to the rajas and says that is also useless. Why? So disturbed about doing, so worried about doing, so worried that you can't sleep. The child, so worried about the exams, is awake the whole night and sleeps in the examination hall. I asked him, examination hall, if very sleepy. I said, why do you feel sleepy in the examination hall? So quiet, no? In 15 minutes, you fall off to sleep. And whole night, and the whole night you are state of rajas. State of tamas is doesn't matter at all. What difference does it make? That's the state of tamas. The state of rajas is so agitated, so disturbed. The state of affected by results, concerned about the fruits, affected by the fruit is the state of rajas. All the time concerned about the fruit, all the time agitated by the thought of the fruit. Will I get it? Will I get it? Are you sure? You follow panna? Will you get it? Okay, have you got it by following all this? We are trying it on you only and trying it out. So concerned about the result all the time. That's the state of rajas, agitations. What is Sattva Guna? A contemplative state. A contemplative state. Intellect all the time in the contemplative state. Mind fixed upon the mind all the time in association with the Supreme Truth. A state of detachment from worldly transactions. That is Sattva. A state of detachment from worldly transactions. A state of detachment from worldly excitements. It doesn't give any more excitement. That's the state of. Why the world ceases to give excitement? Because his focus has turned to the Supreme. That's why the world stops giving excitement. Just as the toys stop giving excitement when your focus shifts to something higher. As long as you don't grow up, the toys gives Excitement. And to get rid of that excitement of the toys, you can't leave the toys and run away. You can leave the toys and run away, but wherever you go, you will pick up another toy. Wherever you go, you will pick up another toy. What is the other way? Shift the focus to the highest. What we are trying here is to shift the focus to the highest, not running away from where we are. That's why it's almost an impossible exercise that we are trying. Why I am saying this is you should be ready. You are trying something which is very, very difficult. Not to run away from where we are and what we are, and still focus on the highest. That's what we are trying here. It's very difficult. Even though it is very difficult, this is the only way. There is no other way. That's why we have to try this only. If there are other ways, why waste time on this? For the supreme truth is more important, not the way. Is there any other way to get there? There is no other way. The only way to get to the self. The only way is to be here and focus on action here. Right? You reach the state of perfection. You can reach the state of perfection. And what is that state of perfection? It's known as the state of trans sattva. Even sattva guna is not perfection. Perfection is the state of something to develop skill. That's what skill is all about. Skill is nothing but doing it repeatedly. That's how you develop a skill. When you do it repeatedly, two things. For what are you doing it and how are you doing it? For what are you developing the skill? For what are you doing something repeatedly? Number two, as you are doing something at any given point of time, what determines how are you doing that? This is where the attitude comes in. I can do something repeatedly out of an extreme attachment to the fruit. Only if I do this, I get what I want. Therefore, another thing is, the lowest is, I am forced to do, therefore I am doing. I am forced to do. All the time to make sure that he is doing the job. He can give a fancy title and call manager, but actually what is he doing? Making sure that
good action as well.
Why? Left to themselves,
They will not act.
left to themselves, no one will do one. They go. They have to be.
External.
So skill is there, but the skill itself is for a result. At the lower level, there is no skill. There is no nothing. At a higher level, there is a skill, but the skill itself is for a specific fruit, which is worldly by nature. It's worldly by nature. The highest is you acquire that skill because that's where your vasana is. Since your vasana is already there, might as well use that field of activity for your evolution. How to make sure that you use that field of activity for your evolution? By bringing in the right attitude. What is the right attitude? Knowledge brings in the right attitude. You ought to act. No prefixes, no suffixes. Just act. Act in such a way that the desires reduces. Ultimately reaching a state of perfection itself. Now, finally, the gunas and attitude are more or less the same. More or less the same. To tell the person gunas, qualities, they don't understand what it is. The vocabulary is so different, but the concept remains the same. Words we keep changing, but the fundamental concepts don't change. What is the fundamental concept? When you develop a skill, how to develop the skill depends on the gunas. Why do you develop that itself is again based on the gunas. That's where the gunas are very important. That's why we say to do something at the level of the gunas, vasanas keep changing the same. He's not saying anything to do at the level of the vasanas. All the discussion is about to do something at the level of the gunas. It means something done at the level of the gunas, vasanas keeps because you don't encounter your desires directly. You don't see your desires directly to conquer them. It always hides. Since it is hiding all the time, you need to know where it is hiding and how it is, where all it is hiding in the gunas. When it starts manifesting, it goes into various locations to hide. That is why the wise one always keeps saying, check your attitude. Check your attitude. Right? To bring in, to give a simple example. People always bring the achievers to talk to them, to motivate, inspire. That man comes and talks. No one gets inspired at the end of the talk. Why? Because he says it's because of dedication. I achieved this because of my dedication, attitude. The fellow goes back thinking about a secret formula. He is just giving a general lecture and going. He is not releasing the secret formula. What is the secret formula? This is the formula. classroom, I keep alternatively using both. If I have to use only the technical terms, I don't have to explain. So just read the book. Just read the verse, read the commentary, and go to the next. That will suffice now. But it will not. So, alternatively keep using the layman terms as well as the technical. Most of the time, layman terms strikes you faster than the technical. For technical terms needs that much of sitting with it to understand. You don't sit with those terms for a long period of time. Therefore, these terms looks very alien, very different. Same concept said in a layman term, it becomes examples makes it much more. Examples makes it much more easy. That's why I gave this example. Skillfully you cook and throw the food to the guest and say, know that man will not feel like, however hungry is it, he will not even feel like having the first. Why? Something is so subtle which is communicated in a very different. What is that? That's the guna, that's the quality. What layman calls as attitude. Loosely speaking, both are. Sorry?
There's confusion.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes.
But you require an attitude to develop the skill.
Yes. Yes.
So, you need an attitude. So, what happens is you develop the skill based on the attitude.
Yes.
So, it cannot be it's part of skill.
Yes. That is why equals no andukuna ellame. That diagrams you put, at one point there is all gets. For explanatory purposes, we talk as though they are separate. But if you go to the next layer and understand, they are not separate. For they are intricately connected. Like for practical purposes, we say left hand and right hand. But then it's part of the same system. But to say at the beginning itself it's all part of the same system will not help a human being to understand, so that he can correct himself wherever he has to be corrected. Therefore, we talk about it as though they are all separate. Actually speaking, they are not. Like the guna with which you have has a say in which how you develop the skill itself. The guna itself has a powerful say in the way that you develop the skill. That's what you are saying. You need the attitude to develop the skill itself. But then you find you can develop the attitude itself. And how do you develop the attitude itself? Attitude is not a constant factor. Attitude is not a permanent, fixed, constant factor. Attitude itself can be developed. If attitude itself can be developed, what helps to develop that attitude? Knowledge. knowledge. That's why before gaining all other knowledges, we say gain this knowledge. You got it? For knowledge is required. What is the knowledge? The knowledge of what action means the knowledge of why, the necessity to get into action. The necessity to get into action is to overcome the very desire itself. It means what? You can't do actions in a listless way. You need to do it skillfully. It means you have to acquire a skill. All this follows because knowledge establishes the foundation. What is the foundation? Action is for what? To eliminate the desires. Follow? So, attitude is that which is changed through knowledge and understanding. This refined knowledge and understanding itself will bring about a refinement in skill. That's where you find more knowledgeable the person is, more effortless he is in
Action.
not only he is effortless. Elsewhere in the 12th chapter, one of the qualities of the Bhakta, he says is, he is an expert, he says. One of the spiritual qualities is, he is a Daksha. Daksha means expert. Expert in whatever he does it skillfully. Whatever he does it skillfully. Who? Not a jnani, a bhakta, he says. A bhakta is a skillful man. Now, the skill comes from where? The skill comes from the dedication, the sincerity that he brings into action. Acquiring that skill becomes, acquisition of skill becomes very easy. Acquiring that skill becomes very, very easy. That's where the third chapter is going to say later. Success in the world is very easy, Arjuna. Because you have the right knowledge, acquiring the skill is very, very easy. But we find acquiring the skill itself is so difficult. Because that which has to come before acquiring the skill is not taught. What is it? That's not taught. People think, how can we talk about attitude at a very early level, sir? It can be taught only. See, you can't talk about an attitude to a 30-year-old man, no? It's very difficult. You can't talk, but it will be difficult for the person to comprehend. Therefore, if attitude is that which can be developed, changed, what will change that? Through knowledge and understanding. Essential part of this knowledge and understanding is doing. Now the essential aspect of this learning process is by doing itself. But it's not, the accent is not on the doing, the accent is on the knowing, the attitude.